Welcome to Clicks and Coffee. Today we're joined by Tod Petty, the Chief Marketing Officer at Fin.io. With over 35 years of experience in the healthcare and senior living industries, Tod has been instrumental in driving innovation and transformative solutions. At Fin.io, he leads marketing strategies that promote their intuitive senior care management platform designed to streamline workflows, enhance resident well-being, and improve operational efficiency in senior living communities. Tod, welcome.
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be on your show today and have some opportunity to meet your audience and discuss with them the greatest opportunity of a lifetime.
So I made a small intro because I was reading about you, and I think there were 3 pages of experience in senior living. So that could be a whole podcast to talk about your experience. So I'm very, very excited to have you today because, talking about knowledge, I think you have a good handle on senior living, on senior living industry. Um, so could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in senior industry and what led you to your current role at Fin.io?
Yeah, I've been so fortunate to have been part of such a diverse uh, components of the healthcare continuum, learning about them all and spending time with some great mentors and leaders. I started out in the home care area where I was actually delivering oxygen to the home and setting up concentrators and jet nevs for patients a long time ago. And I fell in love with making a difference in these people's lives and, uh, you know, just connecting with them and learning from them. And I spent 15 years in that industry and had my own company and sold it to a company out of Clearwater. And then I entered senior housing, which I thought would be much easier. How could it go wrong? It's housing. It's bathing, dressing, grooming, 3 meals a day. And I found it to be the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life because older adults and family members in decline, special needs, it takes a real special person to be able to manage this industry. And what I find very intriguing about it is you have to be good at a lot of things. So I've spent a lifetime trying to do that. I will probably spend the rest of my life trying to do that. But senior housing it transacts like real estate. So it is asset management. It's a beautiful building. It's construction. It's development. It's all those things, which is great. But it's also hospitality because there are has to be amenity rich for our seniors. There's movie theaters, there's 3 meals a day, there's activities, there's engagement. In some of your bigger communities, there's art rooms, there's gyms. So you have hospitality, and we all had to learn that after we begin to emerge with older adults wanting more. But now we are a healthcare business as well because our seniors are aging. They're staying home longer until they absolutely need senior housing services. And I wrote a blog about that. Assisted living is healthcare, and we're way behind because this is the future. And you have to be good at healthcare, you have to be good at hospitality and senior housing. So here I am, and now I'm actually in a tech vertical because tech changes the world. I like to say, Alex, that tech and innovation arrive just in time to save senior housing. And we can talk about that in a minute. But without innovation and technology being blended with all these things I just talked about, we would have been, that's probably the right word, we would have been in trouble. But machines and AI arrive to do the things that we don't have time to do, we don't like doing. So we're freed up to do what we really love doing, and that is to take care of the residents in these beautiful buildings.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's exactly what I like about the technology, or what I like about the technology coming, online, or like getting more and more popular, is really technology that helps you do the menial task that like always annoying. So that way you have more time to take care of people, because at the end of the day, all the caregivers, everybody actually in the senior industry, what they want is to have more time to take care of people and not do paperwork, record, upload to EMR, EHR, and all the things, do the reports. Like, who likes to do reports?
No one.
Nobody. And the problem with that is that then, you have less time because, it's going to take you an hour or 2 hours to finish all your reports of the day. So it's really great. So you were, CEOs of many companies managing senior living. So how, what made you kind of want to do go into tech, because it's kind of, a big change in the in the role and in the type of business. Even though it's senior housing, it's like a, totally different business.
Yes, Alex is totally different. I mean, one of the reasons I'm very competitive and I wanted the opportunity to go into vertical, I could learn, understand, and try to conquer the understanding of it. And I really truly believe, particularly several years ago, that we're in for a cataclysmic shift. I'm being as metaphoric and overdramatic as I can be because I believe this shift with AI and machine learning is bigger than anything we've ever experienced. So I wanted to learn this segment. Um, we've had a period of time where senior housing is slow to adopt. We are so
Hmm.
slow. We're not early adopters. We're very cynical, very suspicious of technology. And I've been fortunate to be part of companies that have brought technology to the senior housing space. And we did it in times when the thought leaders of the time, I'm thinking 2010, were opposed to Wi-Fi in the buildings because the residents would never need it. They were opposed to cameras in the building because, well, we don't want to do that because there could be lawsuits, and we just want to not be transparent. Actually, not really put ourselves at risk. And of course, the truth is, it's just the exact opposite. When you have no data, then people can, particular plaintiff attorneys can guess what might have happened, right? So they
Yeah.
were opposed to technology. And then we adopted early in companies I was with and really changed the landscape of senior housing. We did simple things. We put in like RTLS, real time location services, so we knew where everybody was at in the building so they were safe. We even RFID door locks. I mean, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, no one was putting, the same convenience we have in hotel rooms where we swipe a key or a fob and get in the room. No one was doing that in senior housing. The seniors can't, they don't understand it. And Wi-Fi was certainly out. No one's going to use Wi-Fi. The seniors don't know how to use it. So we put these things in buildings, and all of a sudden, everybody got excited about it. And the story, the herd kind of all turns around and goes in the other direction. And then they put all kind of tech in buildings and probably way overdid it. The same thing is going on now. I mean, I heard even a few years ago, like, well, we're a people business and AI will not, we don't want robots. They think AI is robots. We don't want technology and innovations that's going to replace the human touch. And they just didn't see at the time that the opposite's going to happen. AI is going to equip the person to have more human touch. AI is going to be able to do things much better than we can at the data. And the data is what the financial people need. They need data. And they hand the caregivers a task list to make sure that data gets to them so they can do their job. But the problem is, caregivers are not designed for tasks, they're designed to care for people. And so, if we could get something else to gather this data, then other than the caregiver, their time is freed up, like we talked about. So, there's kind of been three things that have happened, and I jumped in on the third phase of what I'm getting ready to tell you. We had a lot of people create depositories in the cloud to capture information a long time ago. I remember my first IT guy, Alex, told me, yeah, we're never going to go to that cloud stuff. We love servers inside your building because you can control it. And literally 6 months later, he was the IT cloud architect because he saw the world changing. I mean, I remember I didn't want to go online and like do my check, balance my checkbook online because I or sign electronic checks because I don't know if I trust that. Let's do this paper thing. But we just have to adopt what's going on and be comfortable with it. But we had people that created healthcare records years ago, hospitals and long-term care, and they deposit this information, and they had very nice repositories of information, but it all sat there. It was only as good as what you put into it, and a lot of people don't have time to put into it, so it sat there. And then it kind of merged to, what if we could pull this data out and put it on a dashboard? And now we have data coming out and people can look at these reports. And Alex, a lot of people call that AI, and
Yeah.
it's not AI, that's BI, known as business intelligence. where I'm coalescing data and I'm putting on a dashboard and I can see what's going on, and no criticism of that. But the world we're emerging now into is to have real AI. And that's quite frankly what our product does. It has real AI where you have something easy to use, it's easy to adopt, and it's affordable, and it's gathering this data on your residents, mood and behavior, uh, bathing, dressing, and grooming. We call it ADL completion, med delivery, physiological data from remote patient monitoring from devices, think temperature and saturation, oxygen levels, heart rate, blood pressure. All these things can be gathered now, and they can live in the data. The machines can analyze that, and what they'll do is they'll take that on Alex or anybody in our audience, and they'll create a normal condition, and they'll watch that. And when that normal condition changes, a deviation occurs, or what everybody knows our main job in healthcare is to identify a changing condition and get assistance to that resident. When that happens, software can flag, be proactive that something is going on with that patient, that resident. They're declining. Uh, we can know that with blood pressure and even with mood and behavior, way before something becomes symptomatic in the body and someone knows something going on. But in conclusion, I'll try to wrap this up. The whole world is reactive. Like, we wait till a person declines, they get sick, they fall, they're unconscious, whatever. They go to the hospital. They're there 2 weeks. We spend $30,000. We try to get them back to what's normal to send them home. A lot of times that can't even happen anymore. And then we send them home, and there's just a decline. What proactive AI innovation and tech will do, will monitor our residents so we're proactive in intervening when they're declining. So we're avoiding a fall, we're avoiding a urinary tract infection, we're avoiding dehydration, hydration, all these things that create decline, costs to healthcare, and move them out of our buildings. And so this reduces labor, this increases oversight, this frees us up to take care and love on those residents and keep them in place where the financial advisors and the asset managers can still get rent, keep them longer in place, and they're happy. We're happy because we're actually able to give care, and we can have longer relationships with these clients. So I went into this space to help understand that and kind of guide it as we move ahead to 2030. And one last comment before we move on. I mean, 2030 is such an exciting date. Who knows where AI is going to be? I mean, AI
Yeah.
already, and that's another topic about what AI doesn't replace smart people. Smart people use AI and become smarter. But 2030, we're all out of housing. We have a $1 trillion shortfall in senior housing real estate by 2040. We're not going to catch up. The pandemic put us way behind. So it's an opportunity of a lifetime to create beautiful housing with beautiful technology for seniors over 65. Everybody's over 65 years of age by 2030, and they'll control almost 70% of the wealth. It's going to be the greatest wealth transfer we've ever discovered,
I
and
was reading about that the other day. Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very exciting, Alex. So I'm glad I'm in the tech space now. This is a vertical everyone needs. They need operations, they need marketing, they need development, they need capital, but they need tech as part of their tech vertical in our world in senior housing.
No, and then another good thing about having tools that allows you to be proactive is also reducing the emotional stress on resident and the personnel, because whenever an ambulance comes, it's never a pleasant thing to see. It always puts stress on the personnel that they have to take care of the emergency. So if we can avoid those little things, and I'm all for it, even with not seniors, but anybody. Now you have some insurance that if you wear a watch, it allows you to reduce your insurance, or they help you pay for like a Apple Watch or something like that to monitor your health or make sure you're working out, because at the end of the day, it's like common sense things. If you do to prevent, be proactive, then you avoid the big problems down the road. And so
Absolutely.
for the residents, what's great is having a system like that. It's almost as having somebody watching you 24/7, taking your vitals 24/7 to make sure that, like, nothing, not nothing happens, but check. And then if you think about it, during the pandemic, you know that some of the smart watches, they could monitor your temperature of your body, and they could tell you if you were getting COVID at the time, like days before, which is pretty crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, no, you're right on in that. And it sounds simple, but it hasn't been, because we everything is living in a silo right now. The watches are collecting information and how many steps and your blood pressure and your telehealth with your dog. It's all been in silos, but AI allows now that data to be coalesced and to get that information out. And that is really the stressor, right? Because we need something to help cast the imaginations down in our mind. And even if a family member has limited visibility of what's going on, which like our software does that with them, it tells them how mom's doing. But if your family knew that, hey, we know Alex is doing well, or Alex looks like he's declining, his mood and behavior is changing, blood pressure is changing, we've got to do something. We need to get Alex in front of a doctor to see what's going on. I
Yeah,
mean, you sleep better at night knowing that something, in this case, artificial intelligence, is monitoring these things to help flag it, and then we can deal with it before something happens. The world we live in now is people stay up at night every night because they don't know what's happening to 100 of their residents in the building. They can't keep their eyes on them, or family members really don't know what's going on with mom. So they have imaginations, or they feel guilty. They're worried about mom being in the community or at home. And if they had these data points that would partner with them to share with them that, hey, they will sleep better knowing they've done the best they can, and that they are monitoring before something negative happens, so they're prepared. That's right on.
true. And so yeah, so I was reading that on top of monitoring and in being proactive and helping, the senior living community and the residents, there is also an app for the family. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? And I think it's a good idea, but yeah, I would like to hear more, and maybe if you have any stories to tell us about how it worked and how people are liking it.
Yeah, so I've always, our industry has been, I like that we have lots of creative developers of senior housing communities that want to have cutting edge communities, that they quite frankly, they want to be known of being a creator, an artist of senior housing and bringing technology in. But a lot of times they don't really know, like, there's not clarity on what the unique, distinct value proposition is, right? So it kind of goes like, years ago we had no digital signage in the communities, and when hotels began to put it in to connect with people, everybody thought it was a great idea and they brought it in the community, so they programmed it, but with no real thought of what's the strategy. And so
Hmm.
it's just connecting real strategy with it was a big change, because if you can load up pictures of mom at activities and having a good time and singing with Neil Diamond and Barry Manilow if they're in the community, at beautiful pictures of plates of food, dinners, and if that's present on those screens when you walk in, and I can see that, then all the things I'm worrying or I'm fearing about, that I've been told by mom, that, well, no one came to her room in the last 10 days, and she's eating the same food, and why'd you put me here, and I'm angry, and I'm taking your inheritance. If you come in and you don't know anything, then, and you haven't visited in 6 months, you live out of town, then that can be very emotionally, you can be very emotional, guilt, anger, and you're going to talk to that director and find out what is going on. And it's probably going to take an hour to figure it out, and to
Yeah.
convince that person. But if I can sit in the lobby and see those beautiful images, my conversation changes, because the imagination in my mind casts down. I'm not triggered anymore. And I'm like, hey, it looks like mom's doing great. Was that Barry Manilow that was here a week ago singing to her? Oh, yeah, that was her birthday. Well, what's going on with mom? Because she's telling me, I mean, when I call her, oh, mom's fine. She just wants to see you, but she's doing really well here. It changes the conversation. Well, the same thing, if you think about this, can be applied in our world today, because I've spoken with many people, some of these institutional owners of senior housing, big companies, that have told me, I don't want families to know anything about what's going on in the community because they'll sue me. And right now there's a case to be made for that. Like senior housing is a plaintiff attorney's dream. If someone falls and goes out to the hospital and dies, the community's probably going to get sued, and they're going to win because the carrier is going to pay it out because there's no documentation. There's nothing in the electronic health records to document anything. In most cases, that the family wasn't called, they had no idea, and now they're angry and emotional and mad, and they're guilty. And I should, why did? But what's changing now is that software like ours can deliver I call it limited visibility, because obviously we can't tell everything that we're doing because that could give a predatory person ability to litigate. But if I sent out a message more than just, "Hey, mom's going to bingo," and she went to see Elvis in Blue Hawaii in the movie theater, and activities are great, engagement's good, what she ate on a menu is good, and so is the calendar. But what I want to tell them is that, hey, mom's mood and behavior is trending well. Here's the trend, just like we have it. Mom, here's her ADLs, her activities of daily living. We completed them today, or they're 75% complete today, and she's taking her meds, and these are the meds that she's taken. When they have that information, Alex, they feel empowered. It's transparency. They're partnering with the community on mom's care. They don't feel like they're siloed out, that you're hiding something from them. And when there's a problem, we want them to know when mood and behavior is changing, or when the condition is changing. We all got to get together and find out why. And why that's so important is because then if something does happen, and ultimately it will, because we don't live forever yet, maybe that'll change. But when a person's in assisted living, they decline. But now the family's involved, they've been called. Or sometimes they may not have responded, but hey, we tried calling them. The doctor's involved, home health, rehab, everybody's involved. And yes, the resident did fall and they had to go out, and maybe they did expire and pass away. But I have data in my records now from the machines partnering with me that we did everything we could to mitigate that decline. And so there's less probability that you're going to get a judgment, a summary judgment, or arbitration that's going to pay money from a carrier, because you have data to contest what they're saying, that we did nothing about it. So that it's powerful. We have to partner with these families because we're now healthcare and assisted living. Whether anybody wants to acknowledge that, believe that, or wants that to happen, we are healthcare.
No, it's true, and I really like what you're saying because um, I think a big, more often than not, getting a bad news because we didn't know, and you're getting a call from the community saying, like, your father or your mother is in the hospital because they had this, they had that. It's not, it's not a pleasant surprise, and as you said, some people might really react in a bad way just because there was like, oh, she was fine 6 months ago, what happened, all of a sudden. Well, people get sick, people have accident, but at least knowing that we have all that record and all that history of the care that was given, probably going to help. um, it's probably, yeah, going to help people and involve them a lot more. And so how does FinIO evolves? Because you know it's not just like a simple thing you're doing, it's actually a very complex task, and it's a complex task because it really does involve everybody in the senior living community, like all aspects. So how are you how are you, gathering the data and then saying, okay, we need to change this, we need to improve this, and what kind of is the roadmap for fin.io? Because already looks pretty, complete, but I'm sure that every day you get new ideas, new cases, new things to improve on.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Alex. I mean, most of the solutions, if you look at the solutions that are being created, and it's phenomenal things that's happening. We have the ability now, for a variety of reasons, really thankfully to the pandemic, and CMS relaxed their requirements for telehealth. It used to be a lot of security involved in it. And then they just really realized, hey, if we can just get the patient in front of a camera, on FaceTime, I think it's called FaceTime or Google Meets or whatever, That's good. That's good. Let's do that. So we have telehealth where the doctor can get and see the resident now. We have remote patient monitoring where devices can collect, your data. I mean, every day my data is being collected. I've got a scale that is a 6-channel ECG on me. It lets me know my vascular weight. It lets me know my watch collects my steps. I get a signal shot through my body through my scale that lets me know, my body mass, literally on every part of my body, and it's collecting that data. I have a blood pressure reader that's collecting that data. So we have all those things, and that data is being collected, and that's great too. And then we have remote, what's called therapeutic monitoring, where we're collecting data that the resident's not falling. And so all this data is being collected, and Medicare is excited. They'll pay people to report that data for a doctor to read that data. But ultimately, it's still siloed. It all has to be brought into a single place. And so ideally, in my opinion, the ideal place for a person in assisted living is the health records. I'd want the physiological data to live there. I would want the activity engagement data to live there. If I can get that in to an electronic health record where it lives, it's the storehouse, then our machines can take all that data. Our algorithms will look at all of it and determine a normal condition for that person. And that's the key. In fact, the number one thing we're supposed to do under our license in order to take care of residents, they don't really care about the building other than, it has to be a safe building. But what they care about is that you know my general condition every day, and when it changes, you go get help for Todd. It's not even go provide clinical help, it's go get help. The way we say it in assisted living is know the general condition of the resident, provide 24-hour oversight, and when it changes, get help. If you look at the number one thing in long-term care, it's document when there's a change in the resident's condition. And when we don't do that, we get in trouble. That's where the lawsuits come from. And so we don't do a good job at it because there's 100 residents, they're changing every day, and we don't have the staff to do it. So machine,
And it's not going to get easier with the
right,
staff.
there are going to be less people to do it, and there are going to be people that are not, as aware of that they have been in the past, for a variety of reasons. We need something to free the time up so they can just provide the care. And that's where machine learning can come in and gather that data, look at it, because so another component of this is it's kind of like, and I don't want to just mention ChatGPT because there's a lot of engines out there, but that's what I use primarily, so I'll have to reference it. But ChatGPT is so easy to use, and it's so, I mean, if you don't have time to type it, then just dictate it. The key is you have to be able to query it correctly, right? Give it the right commands, tell it how to think, be very specific in your questions. And so what we have an advantage of, new technology has an advantage because everybody else are built on older platforms. They're very clunky. They're hard to adapt. They're very expensive, and there's a lot of reason for that. There's whole Harvard Business Review has done whole studies on this, and they've said that when innovation takes place, when something comes along that's easy to use, easy to adapt, and is more affordable. We went from the Cadillac to the Corolla car in America. We went from the mainframe computer IBM that was selling rent space on it to the computer, ultimately to the notebook, and ultimately to wherever, to my phone. I don't know where it's at, but to this right here.
Yeah, exactly.
uh,
And everything on the cloud.
and everything on the cloud, exactly. And so same thing within the healthcare industry. It's going to change, and people are going to fight it because they're invested in these old products. But when you get something like our technology can be downloaded on the phone, we record data when we see you as our resident through emojis, through swipes. It's Instagram and TikTok like. So it collects the data easy. It's easy for the caregiver to use. It helps prompt them when it needs more information, and they just are clicking buttons. So they're not having to go at the end of their shift, log into something that looks like Windows 3.1 and try to write data. And I can tell you what they're going to write in that health record at the end of their shift. No changes documented, because that's easy. We want to grab the emojis, and all this data that creates, a normal baseline for the residents on mood and behavior. So, and I'll tell you why that's important. CDC says mood and behavior contributes to over 50% of the well-being of the person. You have it on your, if you have an Apple product, you can turn it on to track your mood and behavior because they understand how important that is. So when Alex's mood starts changing and his behavior starts, something is going on. And before you're ever symptomatic with anything else, if we can track what's going on, then we can get ahead of it, even psychologically. And that is the beauty. ChatGPT can tell when when I'm on and I'm off because of its language model. So these are just things that are going to evolve to help us understand our residents better, so that we can predict. Here's what we can predict now. I mean, the algorithms know when all of a sudden mood and behavior changes at now 3 and 4 in the afternoon for a memory care resident, since 3 weeks ago. Well, we might have sundowner syndrome all of a sudden for a memory care resident. Uh, I could go in and see a caregiver as a new, I'm sorry, a resident as a caregiver, and the mood and behavior might change. But it's normal all other times except when Todd comes in the room. Well, what that indicates is that there's not good chemistry with Todd and the resident. And maybe they're just not fit personalities, or maybe there's some Todd needs training on how to address the resident. But it shows up in our algorithms suggest what might be wrong here. Or it could be there's a change in the plan of service where the resident is now getting up earlier, and rather than being escorted and prompted at how their day is going to be, we're now asking them what they want to do, and that's causing tension because of cognitive decline, cognitive dissonance, and we're not supposed to be asking them what they want because they can't handle it. We're supposed to be shepherding them of what we in the family have already discussed. And when that changes, our algorithm can identify it, send a prompt that the resident is condition has changed, and then we can address it. No more guessing, no more ignoring, no more forgetting because we're so busy. And that's the beauty of not only what we're doing, but what a lot of companies are doing to be proactive to change the world.
Wow, that is pretty cool. And so, in all technology, and you've kind of talked about it, but would like to expand that a little bit more, is that a lot of the time we come up with technology, amazing technology, and our software can do all this stuff and it's going to change the world and change the residents and this and that. But a lot of the time is if people do not adopt the technology, or, then technology is useless. And so, how are you, because your system seems fairly complex but more in the background and not in the UI and UX, so user interface and user experience. But how do you make sure that when you're deploying fin.io at a community, people are actually using it?
Yeah, well, a lot of it has to do with the simplicity of its use, and that's just gaining advantage because of the time we live in. I mean, someone learning how to use ChatGPT is pretty easy, versus let's get on the internet on AOL 20 years ago, and how do I navigate? How can I got to write commands, I'm writing commands into it to get a response from it. And now I'm literally dictating in ChatGPT. And so I guess we've been blessed or fortunate to be able to build a more modern user interface because it can be downloaded on a phone. It doesn't need to be on a computer. I can restrict its use to with GPS so that data is confidential and can't leave the building. The app doesn't
Oh, wow.
operate. I can make it user friendly. I mean, I guess the difference is like between MySpace or Teen Open Diary. I'm trying to remember, going in and then writing with a word processor. But now, I mean, literally, they're swiping and using emojis. Our emojis are tied to a Mayo Clinic mini mental health exam. So when they're putting those emojis in, they're just not saying, "Well, Todd's happy today." No, they're putting in a series of emojis in a matrix that's doing almost a mini health exam on me every time they see me. So it's the simplicity of use, and that's what technology does, right? Something comes along that's easier to use, and it replaces that which was clunky but cutting edge at the time. I mean, literally, there's a device literally that takes two electrodes um, that are placed on each side of your hands and performs a test in about 3 minutes that gives you the equivalent data of a cardiac catheterization in a cath lab. That's invasive. A cardiac cath is invasive. You know, you're sending a scope up the arteries. You've got to be sedated, and it costs about $20,000. This test was I mean, this equipment was built overseas, and the test cost about $1,000. But it's easy to use. I mean, I can put it on the patient. It takes a doctor to discern the data, but it's there's pushback because the hospitals can't bill for the test. What are they going to do with these big labs they've built? And they'll still be used. But anyway, technology is arriving just at the right time, and it's giving us the ability to do things we just couldn't do in the past. I mean, I'll give you one more example. I remember years ago as a COO, Chief Operating Officer, creating pro formas and financials on an Excel spreadsheet. And I wanted to do it because I knew what needed to be in the budgets, and I knew how people manipulate budgets, at the operation level to hide things. And so I wanted to create formulas to account for that, or account for labor that had to, we lose people and they have to be trained, and you've got to run higher labor numbers. So now I'm sitting there trying to figure out formulas. I'm not an Excel guru. I mean, it took me a month to finish this, and it's beautiful though. But literally now, if I had AI then that I have now, I could go in and tell it, here's what I'm trying to do. This is the best I've come up with. This is the formula that's trying to identify labor I'm going to lose due to turnover that needs to be replaced, that have to have 72-hour training, and account for that labor time. And then it will begin to suggest to me or ask me more questions. We just didn't have that. And I think I wanted to comment one more thing on this. So I look at, I mean, I even look at marketing. I think I saw that estimates that AI was going to reduce labor, replace 30% of the labor in the market. But the thing is that it's replacing people that are stuck, that are holding on. I mean, it's literally like, we want to build this car by hand. We don't want to industrialize it and try to get efficient on it. I mean, AI is there for people that are smart, that can learn to use it. And rather than taking a long time to do things, having to have a team of 2 or 3 other people, you might be able to use it by yourself. So yes, it's going to replace repetitive things we did in the past, a team of 10 people calling. I mean, I had a bot talk to me last weekend that I actually had a fun time with. It's concerning, regarding getting me in a sales funnel, but the bot was done well. And it even apologized for spelling my name wrong, which intrigued me because it was done deliberately. Hey, Todd, I hope that, sorry, I spelled your name wrong. Is this right? Well, yes, it is, Michelle the bot. And now you have my attention. So anyway, we're just able to do things because of technology, innovation, AI. User interfaces are much easier to use and to adopt. That's the key. That's going
Yes.
to change our world.
I always say simple is hard.
Yes, that's right.
No, and that's really great what you guys are working on, just to understand that people don't want more software or more complication. They want more simple things so they can get their time back. Now, Todd, it was really eye-opening, I would say, episode today on really where the industry is going, or where it should be going, because that's what you guys are trying to do, is to
Yes.
change the way that people are operating their communities. So I encourage everybody to go on fin.io, so it's fynn.io, or to go on LinkedIn and look up Todd's profile, and I'm sure he's going to be more than happy to show you what can be done to improve your community and make it a more, I would say, pleasant community, and less stress, less surprises we don't want to have.
Right on, Alex.
All right, super. So have a great day, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Finn changes. Will you be at a conference in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we're at the Senior Living Innovation Forum in Arizona next week. So we look forward to seeing some CXOs there, and we have several others coming up into the fall season that we're looking forward to being at, including the National Investment Center. And I would just encourage people, if I love talking tech, senior housing, real estate, healthcare, you name it. Those that are passionate about the innovation and that want to talk about, just reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Alex. Enjoyed it. Godspeed.